All right, so we're going to talk about abbreviations. These first four, right, the SID, BID, QID, TID, are going to be the ones that you see. I will say QID you don't see as often. But these, when we look at this, this is talking about the frequency that medication is given. All right, so when we talk about SID, BID, QID, we're talking about the frequency that medication is given. Do you guys want me to do one at a time or kind of go in this list first? Like, do you want me to talk about what this stands for and then what it means? Or do you want me to talk about what all four of them stand for? All four? Okay, cool. All right, so we'll group all of these together. So we have SID first. When I'm referring to SID, I'm talking single. So I want you to hear the S and I want you to think single. And if I'm single, how many numbers is that? 1. All right, cool. Then BID, I want us to think bi. How many numbers is that? 2. All right, cool. So S is for single for 1. The BID is for bi, which is 2. Then if I'm T, what number is that going to be? 3. Okay? So I can think of thrice, or I can think of tri. Okay? So I'm talking 3. And if I'm QID, what is that going to be? 4. What does it sound like? What else do I know of that's in 4s that starts with a Q? What? Quadruplets? Quadrilateral? So what's that prefix? Quad. So I want to think of quad. Okay. I can also think of money. What money comes in 4s to make a dollar? Quarter. All right. So that's what those stand for. So the SID is once a day, because it's a single. BID is 2. TID is 3, and then QID is talking about quad or 4. So when I come over to the definitions, and again, I'm talking about frequency medications given, right? So if I'm SID or I'm single, I'm going to give my medication how many times a day? 1 time a day. So that means I'm going to give my medication 1 time a day, or every 24 hours. So every 24 hours then is when I'm going to give my medication. So my first dose, if I give my first dose at 7 a.m., when am I going to give my second dose? 8. When, Madison? 8. If I give my first dose at 7 a.m., when's my second dose get given? 24 hours. 7 a.m., right? So this will be 7 a.m. So if this is Monday, then that would be Tuesday. Yeah? All right. Now, I'm going to look at B. Right? So I'm going to look at BID, or 2 times a day. So if SID is every 24 hours, BID is 2 times a day. So how many hours apart is that going to be? 48? 2 times daily? 12. So 12 hours apart. To say 12 hours apart or to say every 12 hours is the same exact thing. So here, if my first dose is at 8 p.m., when's my second dose? 8 a.m. So if I'm at a doctor and they prescribe me a medication that's every 12 hours and it's 2 p.m., when's my next dose going to have to be? 2 a.m. Am I going to want to wake up at 2 in the morning to give my dog medicine? Probably not. So what you may want to do is ask your veterinarian or even your human doctor if you're getting regular medicine for yourself, right, of can I make that medication, can I start it later in the day? So that way when you actually give it, then the next 12 hours you'll be awake for it. Or you will have to set a timer. And you'll have to set a timer at 2 in the morning and then just give that medication at 2 in the morning. Because with some of your medications, if I'm supposed to give it every 12 hours, but I give it every 6, what might I still have in my system the next time I take medication? I might still have the medication in my system. So then I might give myself extra that I don't need. And I could get myself really sick. Or if I take my medication at 2 in the afternoon and I decide not to take it till 8 in the morning when I wake up, do I have any medication left in my system? No, so it's not going to be effective anymore. So then I have to kind of start all over again. So you want to stay as close to that interval as possible. All right, so then I have TID, which is thrice a day, or 3 times a day. And if I'm 3 times a day, let's see. To get to 2 times, I went 24 divided by 2. Now I'm going to do 24 divided by 3, which is going to be how many? 8. So 3 times a day is going to be 8 hours apart, or every 8 hours. This is where I'm going to have to do some math, and I'm going to use my fingers, right? So if I give the first dose at 8 a.m., I'm going to do 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. When's my second dose? 4 p.m., right? Okay, now when's my third dose? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it'd be at midnight would be my third dose. And then it should start all up again, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then it'd be 8 in the morning. All right. And then QID is going to be every how many hours? 24 divided by 4? Really? 6. So every 6 hours. And again, I can say every 4 hours, I can say every 6, or I can say every 6 hours, or I can say 6 hours apart. That's when I'm giving my medication. And then again, we're definitely, so with this one, we're absolutely going to have to set an alarm, right? There's no way around it. And that's why we don't often do for the every 6 hours. We don't often do 4 times a day. Okay? All right. So that's giving the medication the frequency in which we're going to do that. Oh, that would not be fun. Ooh. Yeah. See, PPE is super important. All right. So on my abbreviation form, there's a few others that we're going to talk about, but I want to know, does any of them stand out to you guys? any of those abbreviations stand out, or like, hey, I really want to know a little bit more about this one. Like, I really don't know what it is, or hey, I hear this all the time on the TV shows. Which one? The capital letter ones? Which capital letter ones? The one with all caps? The DSH? Alright. So our DSH and our DLH, those is our breed of cat. So so when we have cats at the clinic, we call them a domestic short hair if they have short hair. We call them a DLH or domestic long hair if they have long hair. So this is, instead of saying like a mixed breed dog, right? Well, we'll call dogs mutts, or we'll call them a mixed breed. We call them by their hair coat, by their hair length. So this is really just saying mixed breed cat. So that's what we're saying when we're saying a domestic cat. It's just a mixed breed cat. Most often in the veterinary field, you do find mixed breed cats. Pure breed cats are, I would say, and Mrs. Ritter can correct me, I think are a little harder to come by. Are more rare just because cats are prolific breeders, and we tend to have a lot of barn cats or just stray cats that people will pick up. And by prolific breeders, cats are kind of interesting in the fact that whenever they mate, they are called induced ovulators. So a cat does not need to be in heat for it to be able to get pregnant, versus dogs need to be in heat for them to be able to get pregnant. Cats, it's different. So as soon as a cat has intercourse, then it activates the hormones, and then they're able to get pregnant. Same thing with rabbits. So rabbits are also induced ovulators, which means as soon as they mate, the chemical response sends a signal to say, okay, my eggs can be fertilized. That's why rabbits, you have that expression, people are breeding like rabbits. It's because every time they mate, they ovulate. And so it's an induced ovulation, so they can get pregnant anytime they mate. All right, so we have mixed breed cats is your DSH or your DLH. Other things on here that were like, hey.
Why is the RX for prescription?
So RX is prescription. How many of you guys have seen that before? A lot of us, right? So that's going to be one that we definitely want to highlight. So RX is prescription. I don't know where it's probably some Latin. The R probably stands for something in Latin. But the prescription is really the medication that's going home, right? So it's the medication that the doctor gives.
I just don't know why they would put an RX, not
I don't know.
E for prescription.
Latin word for recipe meaning to take.
Nice and loud, Mrs. Ritter.
It's the Latin word for recipe meaning to take.
Oh, well, there we go. That's why it's an R. Yep. Another one that ends in X that we don't have here, but we'll see. So surgery is also very common. So SX, you'll see often. And then I want to add at the very bottom, we're going to add one that we'll see quite often as well, which is TX. TX stands for treatment. So TX stands for treatment. Here's one that might trip you guys up, which is DOB, date of birth.
I see this a lot.
You do see it a lot, right? DOB is all over the place. So yep, it's your date of birth. Date of birth. As we go through, you guys will hear CNS a little bit more. We're not talking about a TV channel. We're talking about the central nervous system. So there's going to be certain diseases that trigger CNS responses or central nervous system responses. we also have the DVM. Not to be confused with the Department of Motor Vehicles. This is the Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. When we talk about medical treatments and treatments in the hospital, and medications to go home, or even medications to be given in hospital, you hear IM, IV, and sub-Q. And these we'll talk about a little bit more later. And the last one I want to look at on here. Any others that are sticking out to you guys? Before I give the last ones that I'm thinking are important. F1? Oh, FIP and FLA? Yep. So FIP is feline infectious peritonitis. It's going to be a fairly common, I would say common disease. Yes, Mrs. Ritter?
Unfortunately.
And then you have FELV, which is feline leukemia virus. So that again you'll hear quite a bit.
Can I add to that?
Please do.
There's also a form of feline AIDS. This is why a lot of vet clinics will stress to spay and neuter your cats, because they are such prolific breeders, and they also can pick up on many of these diseases.
And that's FIV, correct?
Yes.
So then the last ones we're going to talk about is CC and ML. How many guys have watched the doctor shows and they're like, I need 12 cc's of this stat? Right? And they're like, and then somebody comes with a syringe and you're like, what did they just do? So CC and ML are the same exact thing. We're talking about a unit of volume. So it's a volume of liquid. So cubic centimeter is, it's in the English system, right? It's technically what the non-metric is. The opposite of the metric system is the English system.
Yes.
Okay. And then the metric system is the milliliter, right? They are equal to each other. So they are equal. So that means if I have 0 cc's, how many mLs do I have? 0. If I have 500 mLs, how many cc's do I have? 500. Okay, so it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So they equal the same exact thing. Cool? All right. So that's that on our common abbreviations. Then we're going to flip it over. So flip it over when you're ready. Shania, you got this on your paper already, right? Did you get that last bit? All right, so flip over your paper when you're ready. And then I'm like, oh wait, I have it on my paper too. Okay. So I'm going to make sure I highlight. So we have 1 kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds, which is an industry standard. When I say things that are industry standard, they are standard in the industry. If something's standard, what does it mean? I don't know. Does it mean anything to us if I say something standard? Okay, so standard is regular, or normal, or average, or common. So every time I'm talking about an industry standard, I'm talking about something that's common in the industry in which we're working with. So I'm going to highlight this 1 kilogram equals 2.2 pounds, industry standard. So again, this means that it's common. That's what's generally used in the industry. So when I take a mass of an animal, generally if I'm taking a mass of a dog or a cat, I will put them on a scale, and that scale is going to give me one of two measurements. It will either give me their mass in pounds or it will give me their mass in kilograms. My medication doesn't always tell me how much medicine to give per kilogram of animal. So then I have to convert it. My medicine may not always tell me how much medicine to give per pound of animal, so I need to convert it, right? So you will very often use this 1 kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds. You'll end up memorizing this because we'll use it so often. Some people will use this 1 pound equals 0.45 kilograms. Now this is saying the same exact thing, but is 0.45 as pretty or even as round of a number as 2.2? No, like we know our 2 times table, right? Like I could almost throw anything up against that number and multiply it by 2 or divide it by 2. Like that's simple. This 0.45 thing, I don't know. Like I cannot do that in my head. So I'm going to stay clear of it. Because also you have 2 numbers past the decimal point, you're going to have more margin of error because you have to be more precise. Because there's more information after the decimal. So then I need to be more precise with my info, okay? So I like to use that 2.2 number. It's a little bit more forgiving as far as our math is concerned. All right, and then units of units of volume is not on there, but I can go ahead and add 1 cc equals 1 ml. So I want to go ahead and add that. 1 cc equals 1 ml. And then we're going to do a little bit of math, and then I'm going to let you guys off on it. All right, ready for a little bit of math? All right, no, we're going to multiply today. So I'll give you already what we're going to do. It's going to be super simple, easy. All right, so we're going to figure out, one of the math problems that we're going to do is figure out the number of pills that we need to give. Now, the cool thing is that when we actually are working in the veterinary field, the doctor is going to tell us that more than likely already, or we will already put it into a label, and when we make the label, it will tell us how many things we need. So do I always have to do this math? No. But is it good to know just to double check to make sure I'm providing the right medication? Absolutely. Okay? So we've got, I'm going to teach you how to find out the number of pills or medicine to dispense. When I say dispense, what word am I talking about? What's another word for dispense? What is that? Because that's something. What is it? To give. Right. So dispense is talking about to give. Okay, awesome. You're absolutely right. I think that would be universal sign language for that. Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to talk about the number of pills to dispense, or it's the number of medication to give. Because I'm not always dispensing pills, right? I could dispense those cc's or those ml's. So I can do the same thing. All right. So in order to be able to do this, I'm going to get a doctor's orders, okay? So I'm going to get doctor's orders. And the doctor's orders are going to include the number of meds. It's going to include something like BID or SID, right? And then it's going to include the number of days or weeks. And what this is telling me, so this number of meds is the quantity. This BID, SID, this is going to be my frequency. That's a lie. And then this days or weeks is the duration. And then to find the total number of pills, or the total of medication, so to find the total amount of meds, it's going to equal the quantity times the frequency times the duration. So for example, go ahead, somebody give me a number between 1 and 5. 3. Okay. So if I'm given 3 mils, SID, BID, TID. What do we want? I'll say BID. Give me a number between 1 and 21. 13? Okay. I'm going to round that. Is it okay if I round it? So I'm going to go 2 weeks. So I want you guys, how am I going to find out the total medication that I'm going to dispense? What do I need to do? So my total meds, what's the, I'm going to, maybe not 12. What's the first number I have to go by? Okay, so I have 3 because this is my quantity. Times, what does BID mean? 2 times how many? What's 2 weeks, really? 14 days. So I want to make sure that I then 14 days. So then I'll do 3 times 2 is how many? 6. All right, and then 6 and 14. So let's see, 14 times 6. I know that that's 24. 6 then. Is that right? So then I have 84 mils. So then that would be the total medication, would be 84 milliliters. And I can do that with any and all things. So your cheat sheet is that formula. So that's your formula, right? You know how in math class sometimes you get your formula sheet? This is our formula. Our formula is the quantity, times the frequency, times the duration is going to give us the total medication to dispense. Super simple. We just need to remember what is how much medication, whether it's mils, capsules, whatever. The frequency is going to be that SID, BID, TID, how many times in that day. And then the duration, how many days total. If it's in weeks, I have to convert it to days. Okay? Questions about that? All right, cool. That, my friends, is the first math problem of the year.